Good evening, everyone. It is Lisa.
And Emma.
Greetings, greetings. Tonight, we're going to go a little bit out of our comfort zone. We're going to talk about the World Cup that just finished. Neither one of us are experts, but we do have some questions, and a bunch of you all have emailed us about some topics that you want us to bring up. So, we're going to attempt to discuss them tonight. So, I just want to start off by saying I love soccer. I played soccer. I coached and refed my kids, but by no means an expert. I was go
And
go
I
ahead.
echo that. I love the sport. It's in my top three, but we are not experts. We're just here to talk about some very important
Some
situations.
observations, some
Yes.
observations, and some questions that we have. I really appreciate that they expanded World Cup to, I believe it was 48 teams participating this year, which is more than as typical. It was, of course, as well a longer World Cup season, which I loved. We had some nations, particularly diasporic nations, that were first time entries, which was always great. And that leads us to the African participation. And that's really what we want to talk about is the anti-African racism that we witnessed, overt or not, and how one can see that countries appreciate their Black players, their African players, when they do really well. So these are migrants to their countries, oftentimes, who have done so well, but then these same countries are against immigration policies. So that's part of what we want to consider here. So I'm going to start off by reading some questions/commentary that, again, we've gotten via email. So the first one is, Emma, did you know that there were language restrictions at the official press conferences at the World Cup? Now, keep in mind, and this is Spanish. Spanish is one of the world's major languages, number one. It's one of FIFA's main languages. And Mexico was a co-host of the World Cup, but yet there were language restrictions. Did you know that?
I did not know that. And that just goes to show how you can go out, you can watch the game, and there's so many things that are going on behind the scenes, in the back end, in the locker room, whatever, that we just don't know about. And it's what's really upsetting to me, especially because I am an African. I'm from West Africa, Ghana to be exact. And football, as we call it, is a very
Well, as
big,
everyone calls it,
well,
but no,
except for here. Yes, except for North America. Yes.
US and Canada. I think Mexico does still refer to it as football. So
Um, yeah, the fact that this is going on in my country, soccer is huge. Excuse me, football is huge. So the idea that that's going on as an African is very disheartening to me. I'm really interested to know which languages there are. I'm wondering if any of them are my dialects.
I
Just curious.
doubt very, very highly. Very highly. If they're not going to allow Spanish, I no, I don't know for fact, but that would be my guess.
Yeah. I concur. I concur for sure. And the thing too about soccer, I know for me, because again, my father used to play. That's when I fell in love with the sport as a kid, going and watching my father play. Um, it's really unbelievable, only because that's one of the sports, in my opinion, that really unites so many different, like you see so many people from around the world and everybody is enjoying it. Even if you're going for your team, you
Yeah.
got your flag on your vehicle, people be honking at each other, the fact that I don't know what happened this year. Like, I mean, it's not to say it hasn't been happening, but this year I felt like it was especially just hateful and just straight up evil.
Mm.
And yeah.
I want to know why you say that, because to your point, the beautiful game is what soccer is called. That
Yes.
phrase was popularized by Pele. So for you all that are younger, look him up. He is the
Yeah,
great,
we're dating ourselves right now.
only the goat, but the beautiful game. And part of that beauty is that it is universal, and to
Yes.
all demographics play. And it is indeed a global game. The US and Canada, to a certain extent as well, we're behind the times
Oh,
in terms of the popularity. It
we
is
are tardy. Yes.
a game globally. And the fact that, again, colonization, white supremacy, all these buzzwords that we talk about all the time are so prevalent, even in the beautiful game, is really disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, we see stories about fans yelling out anti-black slurs, and that's something that
Argentinian fans, not to paint a brush over a whole demographic of people, a whole nation of people. However, that's what we've heard the most about, the Argentinian fans and the players with their shenanigans after the final, which I won't necessarily go into because that it's a white team versus a.
Well, I'm never painting everybody with a broad brush. All I will say is this is not new. It's just I feel like it's elevated this year. It's especially, it just seems to be more in general, just in a lot of sports. But anyway, we're talking about soccer, so let's just keep it about merit. But my point is that I just found it to be especially hateful this year, and Argentinians. I was really like, well, what is the deal? Why are we doing this?
I wonder, and I'm just thinking out loud, I wonder if the reason we think there's been more hatred this year is not, in fact, that there has been, just hear me out, but that we're hearing more about it because the games were in Canada, the US, and Mexico. When they're overseas, when they're elsewhere, we might not be as privy to certain stories, whereas they're in our backyards, literally. Perhaps that's why we're hearing more.
It could be geography for sure. That could play a role in it. Absolutely. It's just too bad because this is the first time that, Toronto has hosted. And what bothers me is we know, you and I know as Black women, how harmful that is. And then you have countries where Black people and African people are not the majority, but they're playing for that team, right? They're playing for that, they're playing for that country. And so to be even on the field playing for this country and still going through that is just, how do you reconcile with that in the locker room when you're done, if you lose, like all of those things that may be going through these players' minds,
I do have a video that I'm going to pull up that further addresses what you're saying. We do have Mbappe's response to the Paraguayan senator, but this is something that I want to show first.
Them Africans in their country till it's time to play football, till it's time for the World Cup, nigga. Then they treat the motherfuckers like Pokemon. Mbappe, I choose you. It's crazy the things you must do for the world to choose you as an African. I often think about the African man who had to scale a burning building to save a child in order to be granted citizenship in France. You gotta be Spider-Man to get paperwork. Or the many that drown in the Mediterranean Sea trying to get to Europe. They be fishing them niggas out the ocean, putting them on a soccer field. Damn, that's dark. Mbappe's mother is from Algeria. France killed over 1 million people in Algeria 100 years ago. Then turn around and put a jersey on. The World Cup be like, I put 10 of my best Africans against 10 of yours. Let's see who come out on top. But like, do those Africans have equal rights in your country? Of course not. During the World Cup? Absolutely. But 90 minutes. It's not just the European countries. Latin American countries full of Africans. Colombia's Africans just kick my Africans' ass. I love my people, but damn. Mexico got a star African player. They be hiding them Afro Mexicans. Till it's Pokemon time. I choose you. I know it's my destiny. I'll choose you and you'll choose me. It's crazy the things you must do as an African for the world to choose you. It was very good.
So, as an African, Emma, what are your thoughts?
Facts.
Facts. Facts for the most part. I will disagree with him on one point. He said for 90 minutes, the Africans are chosen. I don't even think that's accurate.
I agree with you 100% there. It's not. It's not. It's very much a, you just be quiet, do what you've been recruited to do, but just know you're never accepted. That's pretty much it, summarized.
Yeah. I think for me, if we're talking about the hatred, the extreme hatred in this particular instance, again, I referenced the senator from Paraguay and Mbappe, and I still cannot wrap my head around what she said. So Paraguayan Senator Celeste Amarilla has come under widespread criticism after a series of racist and insulting comments aimed at Kylian Mbappe following France's 1-0 World Cup victory over Paraguay. The senator wrote, "This brute hasn't even learned to write. Instead of breast milk, he grew up sucking on coconuts. The most educated creatures he ever heard were chimpanzees. You should have given him the middle finger, Orlando Gill. A colonized Cameroonian pretending to be French, resentful, newly rich, arrogant, and ugly. He was nervous and scared to death all game, like his whole team. They didn't even manage to score a single goal until they got lucky with a penalty. The only thing many of us blame the team is for not giving him a full-handed slap at the end of the game. I'm not even a football fan." Mbappe responded with a strongly worded statement calling her a despicable woman. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is not only on a global stage, but you are a senator. You are representing your country. Granted, the country, the government distanced themselves from her, but what makes you think you can say these things? Well, actually, that was rhetorical because I know what makes her think.
I was about to say, yeah. And oftentimes well, I should say oftentimes, because it is true. Oftentimes there are no consequences for these kinds of things. We're starting to see a little bit more and more that when certain people do this kind of thing, there are consequences, but the consequences are not even remotely impactful. Oh, you'd be suspended for a week or whatever, or you're reassigned to another region or something along those lines. Like recently what happened with Angel Reese, just talking about another sport situation, and the coach for the Toronto said that she was a protected species. And so she's in trouble for saying that, right? Like she got a lot of backlash, and she says, because she's Australian, we use that term in Australia, but you didn't use it. You have not used it for anybody else. So
you're not in Australia.
That's the other part. And then what happened? She got suspended for 1 game. So, here again is my point of, you can say these kinds of things and the consequences are, there's no real, like, she's a senator. There should be real consequences for this. What's happened since then?
Well, speaking of suspensions, or in this case, red card, the red card on Balogun was, it was a bad call. Let's just call a spade, for lack of a better idiom. It was a bad call. However, FIFA, even though they present, we're apolitical, obviously we know politics is very much intertwined in FIFA-dom rather. But 47 called the president of FIFA to reverse the red card, and they did it. So that in and of itself is mind-blowing. And did it with just, oh yeah, I'm going to call. Didn't pretend he wasn't going to do it. Didn't pretend he hadn't done it. I'm going to make a call. And the red card was revoked. Now, the especially interesting thing about this is that player on the U.S. men's national soccer team is a citizen because of birthright citizenship. The very policy that 47 and his government tried for nearly 2 years to revoke. Again, it's when it behooves the dominant culture, when it behooves
Yep.
the colonizer.
Yep. The
Yes.
oppressor.
The oppressor.
Yeah.
You tried with all your might. But yet, are there exceptions to the rule then? Oh, of course they are. There are white exceptions to the
That's
rule.
a given.
But the Black exception to your rule is because he didn't, but he can win you the World Cup or matches or whatever 47 thought might happen. The blatant arrogance that these white people have to say what they want to say, to do what they want to do on a world stage. The global majority is not white. But yet and still, the oppressor, the colonizer, is emboldened, again, to say these things and to do these things on a regular basis. And it's just aggravating, frustrating, maddening.
It's so frustrating. And when you even see people like I Show Speed getting stuff thrown at him and
exactly. That was
like
for Argentinian fans, right?
Yeah. And it's like, what are we doing here? And then we see another Argentinian that ended up getting arrested by a Black cop because doing the same thing to this Black police officer. It's like, it doesn't matter. Just like true to life, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be just a judge, you can be all of those things. But guess what? You're Black first. Always. Be one always. And that's what's led with. That's how it's led.
Argentina's team, no Black players. Not surprising. They've erased their Black population. That's a whole other story, but we know this. Mexico, I think they have one star player who is Black on the team. But nearly 1 in 4 players on all the World Cup teams, nearly 1 in 4, represent a country they were not born in.
Yes.
And as we saw watching the games, a lot of these players are African.
Yes, they are.
A lot of African teams were participating, not yet, but most of the players we saw are African.
Yeah. And you know what I say? Imagine if all of those players said, you know what? They gave you the big fat F you. I am not playing this game anymore. We're going to go ahead and start our own league.
Exactly.
And you guys have a great old time. How quickly? Where would they even be? Where would they even be? But they always lead with this, you need us more than we need you attitude and mentality and, the supremacy of it all. And I don't even like using that term when I'm referring to them. It's more like white fragility. It's more like white insecurity. It's more like white envy. It's more like white jealousy. It's more like white fear.
Bars.
More like white. That's what it is.
And it's so blatant.
So blatant.
And we are so powerless that a Somali referee as another example, is detained entering the country that I live in, questioned for over a dozen hours, I believe, and denied entry. Award-winning Somali
Yep.
referee
Yep. Sent back.
sent back.
That Somali referee, that was an absolute, like, no,
It was
wrong
heartbreaking.
on so many levels.
It was heartbreaking. Or
Heartbreaking.
the Congolese super fan that was denied entry. He's a fan. He's not a player. He's not a referee. He has nothing. Denied entry. And those games were here. Denied entry.
And did you see those players and the way that they were searched on the tarmac when they landed in comparison to other players?
Of course.
It's a situation.
And this is not an African nation that I'm about to talk about, but even Iran.
Yeah.
They could not stay in this country. Their games were in this country. They had to stay in Tijuana and cross the border every day. Think of the fatigue.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Their whole team wasn't even allowed, not the team, their greater team, including trainers, etc., weren't allowed to enter this country because this country's, because 47, I don't even want to call him what he is.
47, Agent Orange, whatever. It's just,
47 has engaged in a ridiculous war. Not that
ridiculous.
But so you're going to penalize these players, blatantly penalize this country, even though, again, it's World Cup, the beautiful game. Not only that, reporters are going to question, journalists are going to question those players about the war.
Yeah.
Journalists did not ask our players, the American players, about the war, about bombing schools in Iran. They weren't asked those questions, but the Iranian players were asked about the war, about their rights, about women's rights.
Yep.
They're politicians. Why that double standard?
It's a level of, it's very disheartening. Really, it's very, very disheartening. And, imagine you go through all of that and then you lose. And then they're looking at you and they're just patting on their hatred.
Yes. Yes.
And it's something I've always kind of said to all these people that behave this way towards Black people, Black Africans, Black Americans, whatever. Do you ever really just sit there and ask yourself the why? Why do I have an issue with these people because of the color of their skin?
Well, it's all the things you mentioned before, the jealousy,
But and so I'm literally like, ask yourself, why though? Why do you have this? Have you ever thought to yourselves, and I'm talking to you, non-melanated people. Have you ever thought to yourself, well, what is my issue with them? Why do I feel this way about them?
Ignorance. It's ignorance, because it's the lack of exposure to people of color, let alone Black people. It's what their parents
I was going to say, it's a generational thing. Yep.
So they just take what they are told at face value.
Yeah.
Especially if they grow up without the presence of Black people around them, and or Black people are in subservient roles around them. So they make these assumptions, or it's confirmation bias. They're taught something and they don't want to think beyond that. It's
exactly,
instead of watching things on TV and the media, music that elevate the African diaspora, and it's people they'll watch. Oh, well, look at the rappers, look at this, and Black people killing their own, not understanding that that's not true. That's not what the statistics say. Confirmation bias, they just hear it, take it at face value.
Yep.
If 47 says something, even though it might be outlandish, they'll believe it.
And do you know what the craziest thing is? It doesn't even matter how much evidence you put in front of them. They'll still find a way to gaslight and say,
Confirmation
well,
bias,
it's not true. It's not true.
they won't, anything that does not support their point of view,
Yeah.
they will not consider.
Yep. It's a hopeless situation.
Truly.
And that's why I always say, the only people that need to change the way they're doing things is us, right? That's why a lot of people are like wealth transfer. We're finally, well, some of us are finally starting to really wake up and be like, look, we need to start building for ourselves. We need to start creating for ourselves, because this here is never going to change. Never.
13% of the global population is white.
Yep.
13. That means probably 7% are white men.
Yep.
7%. And we have allowed them to wield such power. We have allowed it.
And it's time to stop that. It really is. We got to stop it.
We've got to stop it, but we've also got to educate ourselves. You look at a map. You look at the mass size of Africa. It's much smaller on a map than what it really is. And we know why.
Yeah.
We need to educate ourselves. That's where it starts.
It is. And also we need to get to a point, and I'm when I say we, I don't mean us, because we are from two totally different walks, born from different places. But this whole delineation, this whole, this diaspora divide, all of that has to stop. Because I say this all the time, I say this moreover, it only benefits one group of people, and it's not us. So we need to educate ourselves for real, because some of us, I'm holding some of us, our people, accountable as well, because it doesn't matter how much you put in front of them about Africa, about the Caribbean, about no. Y'all just come and disrespect us. We're good. B1, FBA for life, and all this other nonsense. I personally think it's a cult, but that's just it's a whole other story for a whole other day. But
whole other topic. We've got
whole other topic. Stay tuned, family. But yeah, I think part of it is us too. We gotta, like you said, we gotta educate ourselves. We do.
Definitely.
There's a lot of ignorance to go around, for real.
We've got access to more information in our phone
100%.
than the American government had when I will say allegedly, because some people don't believe that it happened, but that the American government had when they allegedly put a man on the moon. You have more information in this that you carry with you everywhere you go. Not only that, I'm very pro-library. The only data center I want in my neighborhood is a library. Go to the library.
Oh my gosh. I love the library.
That's an act of resilience and resistance.
Yeah.
Support your local library. Do some learning. Take some classes.
Do some learning, man. People don't even read anymore.
No.
You're just relying on what TikTok says, like these, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4-minute bites. And that's what you take and run with. People don't want to even read. People don't want to educate themselves. They want to believe what they see. It's called a smartphone for a reason, people. Okay.
Oh,
everything's there. More bars.
More bars. Mic drop. On that note, I think we've covered what we wanted to cover.
Yes, we did. And it's never going to be covered in one segment. So we definitely will have more conversations and we'll have more people on to have the conversations with us. How great would it be to have a soccer player on? How great. Hey, fam.
We'll have it.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
also want to shout out those of you that emailed us and messaged us and brought up some topics and some questions that you wanted to see us address. So we appreciate that and we thank you. And I have thanked you individually. So I wanted to thank you publicly as well.
We thank you very much. We're young, we're new, and already we're seeing the engagement, and it means everything. So if you want more, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, and tell us what else you want us to talk about. We're more than happy to do it. And if ever you feel like you want to be a guest on some of the things that you are recommending we talk about, drop us a note. We'll make it happen.
There you go. And on that note, thank you, everyone. Have a lovely Friday evening, and we will see you next week.
See you on the next one.